All right, just so it's okay. So hi everybody. My name is Nicholas. So I'm gonna do. Sorry, am I? Is it okay? Yeah. Hi again. I keep hitting this microphone. So I'm gonna do the presentation on mobile development, and so over this presentation we're gonna go. I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna start with some metrics about mobile development growth. Also about usage in general. Do you hear me okay, by the way? I see some, yeah? Okay. So also about mobile development growth in general, and especially in MENA, Middle East, and North Africa. And then we're gonna go through some of the newest technologies for mobile development, which are HTML5 for mobile, and then we're gonna have a look at some Android stuff. So some Android development, we're gonna code a small apps together. So it's gonna be like kind of like an intro. So sorry if you're a super expert in Android, you might not learn a lot there, but you know, if you're starting in mobile development, then it will be really interesting, I hope. So first, who has already developed for mobile in the room? Can you please raise your hand? That's it? Come on. Don't be shy. Yeah, yeah. And so what was it? Who has developed, was it more web apps? Who has been developing web applications for web interface? Or was it more Android? Android? Yeah, or was it iPhone? It's really bad. All right. Okay, so first, why do you have to develop for mobile? So right now we're seeing a real growth in the internet connections in general all over the world. That's, I mean, pretty much everybody knows that. What's really important here is that mobile internet grows much faster right now than like landline connections. More and more people are using their mobile devices to connect to the internet. So in Europe, since the WebKit devices, I mean iPhone and Android, those fancy devices arrived, people are finally starting to use their phone to go on the web a lot. Some markets are exploding, like Africa and India. We'll see some metrics right after this. And also as I said, it's growing faster than desktop. And in some countries, several times faster. That's more for like sub-Saharan Africa. Some countries in Africa, people are buying, very cheap phones and use them to go on the internet, as they cannot always have access to an expensive desktop computer. And especially since landline connections like ADSL are sometimes very hard to get. So who are these people? I know you've been asked already, but so could you please raise your hand? Who has like those fancy devices like Android or iPhone? Yeah? Hello, hello, hello? Okay, sorry about this. So sorry, again, iPhones and Androids and WebOS devices, Palm. Okay, so who has more like a smartphone, like a BlackBerry, like a Nokia Series 60, those kind of latest Nokia as well? Okay, and who has so the rest, is it like crappier phones, like Nokia Series 40? They can go on the internet, but they're not great for this. Who has that? Don't be shy. You have a crappy phone, right? Is it the only one who has a crappy phone? Okay. All right, 2. Okay. So let's have a look. So these are our metrics for Middle East and North Africa in general, not for Jordan only. So for the whole region, we're seeing connections. So up to 30% connections coming from feature phones. So those lower end device that cost around $50. They have very limited, a very limited browser, usually very limited HTML browser, very limited CSS handling, and very limited JavaScript as well. So, and from this region, we're seeing the most connections from the smartphone categories. And in the smartphone categories, we include Nokia Series 60, so which seems to be really, really popular around here. So, and BlackBerry. So those usually have like a really nice, they have good support for CSS, good support for JavaScript, good support for HTML, though they don't have like the, latest cool features like HTML5, like, nice touchscreens, etc., that we find on what we call superphones. So superphones is going to be Android and iPhones, which account for, approximately 10% of the connections from this region. So here I was going to list, I said that a little bit already, the main differences between those four categories. So, I mean, speaking of the browser itself, because that's what these metrics were about, these are the metrics were about the connections we see on the Google search engine from this region. Then, so in other markets, it can be very different. If you look at the UK, most people are using superphones, so iPhones and Android mostly. In India and in South Africa, it's going to be mostly feature phones, so those cheaper devices. And we're seeing a very big explosion in usage of these devices. So, for example, 1 year ago, India was at the level of sub-Saharan Africa. So you see what can happen in 1 year, like an extreme increase of usage, especially in those cheaper phones. So my point is, when you're developing for mobile, you have to know which market you're targeting, and that's very important, because you're not going to develop the same way for feature phones or for iPhones or for smartphones. Sometimes, if you want a nice user experience, you're going to have, to provide a different version of your website, if it's a website you're developing, for each type of phones. And of course, if you're developing a native applications, it's going to be G2ME for those feature phones. It's going to be Android app. It's going to be iPhone apps. So that's very different. So you have to know, if you want to be successful, you have to know, your user base, what they're using. I know it's really cool to develop Android apps and iPhone apps. It's way more fun. But if you really want to be successful right now for this region, it seems to be more like the Nokia Series 60 that you need to target, at least for websites. So don't worry, we're still gonna code some Android because it's pretty cool. And so we're gonna see some nice stuff. And HTML5, absolutely. So here was an example. If you're targeting sub-Saharan Africa and India, focus on the feature phone. Focus on those lower-end devices. That's really important there. And use more like SMS services. They have really poor internet connection. It's coming, but for now, it's those SMS services are very popular. And in Europe, it's going to be people who uses their phone to go on the internet are mostly going to use iPhones and Android. So what about development for mobile? Yeah, so that's the end of the salesy, businessy part. Now we're going to look at more technical stuff. It's going to be nice. But first, we're gonna look at we're gonna list what are the challenges when you want to develop for mobile. So as I said, browsers are very different. Limited CSS JavaScript support depending on the browser. Various image formats. Some browsers do not support, for example, PNG. Remember, Internet Explorer 6 didn't support PNG, so imagine a Nokia Series 40. Cache limits, screen dimensions is very important. Those lower-end devices has very small screens, as well as input mechanism, who can be very different. For example, you're going to use, on those feature phones, it's usually going to be those keyboard with like only the numbers and those D-pad. Whereas on the latest devices, you're going to have touch screen, voice input. You've seen demos. So you can use all that, and it's going to play on how you develop your application. So there are some solutions. So usually, if you develop a website for mobile, you're most likely to develop different versions of your website for each types of device. Here, for the image part, when I said they don't support PNG or you need to display a smaller image, that was just a side note. App Engine has this API. You can actually resize images on the fly. That was just a side note. So, so you can use that to actually show different versions, your image within different dimensions. About showing your different version of your websites, for each devices, you're going to have to use user agent detection. So who in the room knows what a user agent is? Please tell me. Oh, 2 people. Okay, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm going to explain 5. So a user agent is a string, actually an HTTP header that the browser you're using is going to add to the request, to the HTTP request that's going to be sent to your server. So when you develop a website and you have a web server, you can actually detect, you can actually read this user agent value, and you can detect with which browser the user is connecting, and using this technology, I mean using this you can actually display filter, filter users and redirect them or show them a different version of the website. So that's 2 examples of user agents. The first one is a Chrome user agent. So every Chrome browser sends this with every connection, every request, to the server it's sending the connection to, it's requesting. The second one is BlackBerry is going to be the user agent for the BlackBerry browser, BlackBerry 8800. So basically, as I said, you can filter all this, but it's going to be really, really complicated to keep a whole list of user agents because there are hundreds and hundreds of different ones. So there is this pretty cool project I want to show you, which is called Wolf. So you can actually use this project to, you're going to give him the user agent, and it's going to tell you which kind of browser it uses. So you don't have to care about the whole, list of user agents. You just tell him, oh, here is the user agent. What does this browser do? Is it a device, a mobile device? Is it an advanced browser? Does it support HTML5? It can tell you all this. So I'm just going to show you a little example quickly. So that's Java. So who develops in Java? You tell me? Wow, cool. So me too. And who uses PHP then? PHP, okay, fair amount. The rest, is it .NET? .NET, okay, yeah, it's bad. And who does Go? Go, the Google programming language? Nobody has ever used this. It's too bad. There was going to be a mug for this person. So yeah, no, too late. We'll see. I'll give more mugs then. I'll find some other stuff. You guys should look at this language. So here's a Java servlet where I'm using the Wolf the Wolf project. So in the first part that's in bold, I'm just initializing the project. And here is what interests us. So you can actually very quickly detect, for example, which kind of browser it is in just 3 categories like this. It's very easy. So by using these few lines, I can actually know if the browser is an advanced browser, which is going to support, the latest version of HTML and CSS, or if it's a simple HTML browser, which support you cannot use, fancy CSS stuff, and if you're connecting with a, usually WAP-only enabled device, which support only WML, you can quickly detect like this with those few lines. So I wanted to show you. Let me click here. So whoever is downloading movies should should stop right now. I have loaded it here. So I'm going to use Firefox. There's a good reason. So I installed a plugin which lets me fake user agents. So with this plugin, you can actually, fake the connection. So here I set up a few user agents. I can fake as a connection as an iPhone 3. I can fake a connection as an Alcatel OneTouch 708 and as a Nokia Series 30. So usually if I connect as an iPhone, and if internet is working, yeah, it tells me advanced browser. So if I use the same URL and I connect as an Alcatel OneTouch 708, which is a feature phone, so it's going to tell me, oh, it's only support simple HTML browsers. It's only a simple HTML browser. And if I connect using a Nokia Series 30, which is a really old phone, WAP-enabled, it's going to tell me, oh, it supports only WM. So what I did, let me go back. Up. what I did, I just uploaded this code on an App Engine Java server. That's it. And so this is this simple code working. So you can, I'm gonna send the link to my presentation. It's gonna be on the GJordan website. It's also, I'm also gonna tweet it with my Twitter account. I'm gonna give it on the last slide. You can actually subscribe, follow me, and you'll have a link to this. There is much more code sample in the rest, so that's why it's interesting. By the way, I put this here. Who knows what this is? How many people? A QR code? Yeah, for just a few. Yeah, so I'm just going to explain quickly because it's important for mobile devices. So that's basically a two-dimensional barcode. You know those barcodes on your cereal or whatever? That's a two-dimensional one which is going to contain data. So you can actually, if you have a phone with a camera in it, you can actually flash it if you install the right app. And this QR code is going to be just this URL I written below. So let's see if I use my device. I have this app who scans for barcodes, and is it going to work on this screen? Nope, not. So I'm going to use my. Sorry about that. So I thought you guys could flash it with your phone if you wanted to try the examples. But here, so I actually read that on my screen, and it detects it's the wolfdemo.appsode.com URL. So whenever I have demos like this, I'm going to put the QR code. So on this screen, you cannot read it. It doesn't seem that the contrast is sufficient. But at home, when you look at my slides, if you want to, you can actually just flash them with your phone, and it's really easier to test. I mean, to actually, instead of typing the full URL, you can just flash this. So that's for developing web apps and websites, right? But you also have the choice of developing native apps, like those Android, those G2ME apps, those iPhone apps. So we're going to see quickly in this section, so which type of apps you should develop, which is better for your service, for your application. So we're going to compare web versus native. So the question, should you build your mobile service as a web app or a native app? That's the question. So the answer is yes. No, that was a joke. He laughed, so he gets a mug. Sorry for the others. Here you go, you can come pick up your mug. There will be other jokes, so if more people laugh, you can also get mugs. I know they're really bad, but you know, I'm doing what I can. So of course, yes, it's not the right answer. So it's more complicated. We're gonna look at it. So this is the case for native apps. So when you build a native app, you're gonna have access to the full device capabilities, right? So if you build a G2ME app, you're gonna have access to the camera if the device has a camera. If you build an Android app, for example, a Nexus One, which has lots of cool features, you're going to have access to all the sensors the phone has. For example, there's a light sensor. It can detect luminosity, camera and flash, multi-touch. There's a 3D acceleration chip. There is full GPS information, Bluetooth radio. You can send and receive SMS and parse them, etc. So you can, of course, store data on the phone. That's usually why you would build a native app, to use all those devices that are not available to web apps, basically. There's also, of course, some very important features. So you can list your app on the market, for example, on Android or iPhone, and make money out of your apps. That's obviously really important. And basically, usually, native apps are going to have a much better user experience. People prefer to use native apps than just web apps. You know, it's painful to use a browser. It's not always, you know, the buttons don't look the same. Usually, you have a unified user experience with native apps. So though there's a slight problems, so when you develop a native app, you have to consider, you know, all those operating systems. If you want to touch a broad range of people, you're going to have to develop your app for G2ME, for Windows Mobile, for iOS, for Android, for BlackBerry, blah, blah, blah. So you're going to have to develop your app 10 times, basically, if you want your app to be available to anyone, using different programming languages. So it's pretty painful, right? You also have to consider all these different formats. Sometimes the API can differ whether you're using a tablet, or a phone, etc. So, and a TV, you've heard of Google TV, which is Android-based. So it's also slightly different APIs. So, and soon, what's going to happen? Fridge, washing machine, cars, USB desktop aquarium. No. That was the other joke. Who laughed? Who laughed? No, too many people. You don't get a mug. So, and how about 2015, right? There are probably going to be more operating systems, mobile operating systems coming up. So it can be more and more complicated, right? So the web is still going to be there, I guess, in 2015. That's why you should build web apps, right? Is when you build just a web app, one web app, you have broad reach to everyone, right? Everybody can just access your app. For example, if you're a bank and you're building a portal, a web tool for your users, you probably don't want to build an Android app first, right? Because maybe only 1% of your users are going to be able to access, to use this app, right? You probably first you want to launch, you want to build a web app, that's optimized for mobile, so that everybody with a mobile phone can access it first, and then so that's my point afterwards. My point of view is you should build the web app first to touch everybody, and then build native apps to optimize the user experience. Of course, if you need those cool features, if you want to use the light sensors, etc., you have to build a native app, all right? But if you can do without, my advice is build the web app first. And especially, I come back to this slide, especially since HTML5 brings us device features that were only available on the device before to the web. So we're going to see that just afterwards. So we're now going to look at all you can do with HTML5 devices. HTML5 enabled browsers. As I said, HTML5, some part of the HTML5 features are features that were previously reserved for client apps. For example, geolocation using the device, for example GPS, or device orientation, knowing how your device is oriented, or storage. That kind of stuff were only available to native apps before. Nowadays, HTML5 is bringing those features to the phone, basically, to the browser. So there is much more in HTML5, right? So if you guys want to see HTML5 completely, you should go to that website, www.html5rocks.com. Go there. It's like really graphic, really nice. There's this cool demo, where Sebastian moves his laptop and you see the logo. That's there. So you should go there and check it out. So, and unfortunately, HTML5 is only available on latest phones. So iPhone, Android, WebOS devices. So Palm Pre, for example. Though it's the future, right? For example, Android phones are getting cheaper and cheaper. So all the markets that don't have a lot of those super phones coverage. As these devices get cheaper and cheaper, right now there's, I think, Taiwanese or Chinese manufacturers is building one for $200, whereas 1 year ago the cheapest one was like 500. So it's coming down, and so we're going to touch all those markets that don't have very big availability on this kind of device. Yeah, question? So, can you say it again?
Native apps, the main role of them that they can use the device features that you talked about. Now HTML5 started using some of the features,
yes,
like device orientation. So we might get to a point where we don't need any more native apps.
Yeah,
we're going for the web. Even we can use the cam, everything, and all the specifications of the phone and everything.
I agree. So as HTML5 is developing itself, more and more features. You get a mug. Bravo. Can you give a mug to this person, please? Yeah, I have lots of mugs now. Nobody could it go, so yeah, I agree. I agree that more and more device only, native apps only features are going to be supported in HTML5. But so the point is HTML5 is more of is a standard, and standard always take usually a long time to like catch up with innovation, right? So right now the innovation is on the device. For example, the luminosity sensor, the light sensor, it's nowhere to be supported, I guess, in HTML5. I mean, I haven't seen any proposals, so I'm sure it's going to be supported one day, but right now if you need to use the luminosity sensor or any other type of specific sensors, you're going to have to build native apps. And phone builders, they add sensors all the time, right? So now you've seen this new, the Nexus S, there's an NFC sensor, near-field communication. All this, so this is new, and you have to wait a lot until it's picked up by HTML5 and it's implemented in all the browsers. So we'll see. And now we're gonna actually try some of those features quickly. We're gonna look at some code and try it on my phone. I hope it's okay. So just to show you how easy it is. So for example, this is how to use geolocation. Geolocation is basically those simple two lines right here. You add this event listener, get current position. So no, this one is not actually an event listener, the further one. So this is going to give you the current position on a one-time basis. You just ask for the position right now. You have other events. If you look at the spec, I put a link right there, where you can actually, for example, follow the person. It's going to fire an event, as the person is moving. So you can check the specs. For now, I'm just going to show the simple one. So it's very easy. Just get the current location. You use this method. You pass it. I pass it to this method, which is just going to display a simple Google map. So I'm going to try it on my device. If I get internet, stop downloading movies, please. So I just flashed the QR code to open it up, and here, it was already loaded. So it should have detected where we are. I guess it's pretty accurate. I don't read Arabic, so I guess it's right. And I actually put the location, written the location in this div up there. So that's our location in latitude and longitude. So just to show you how easy it was to get this. So I've already run that application before. So usually the first time you run it on a website, it's going to ask you for the permission to share your information to the browser. I mean, to the website. So now let's see another new feature that's only available on mobile and actually touchscreen mobile browsers. So there's a few new listeners, JavaScript listeners. So I forgot to ask who codes JavaScript, who knows what, and I've used JavaScript here. Is it, come on, it's more people. All right, yeah, pretty good. So, and I hope the rest you kind of know what it is. So it's the programming language you can actually put on websites. So it's executed client side, just in case. So here are actually three listeners, because there's also the touch move. There are that you usually would have to use instead of on mouse down, on mouse up, on mouse move on touchscreen devices, because for example, the on mouse down or on mouse up don't fire. Usually clicks fire if I tap the screen. If I actually move my finger like this, an on mouse down event will not fire. So you have to use those new events. So here I'm simply using it quickly, a small demo. There's going to be a yellow box, and it saying touch me, and if I touch it, it says ouch. So quickly. Up. Touch me. And when I touch it, up, and it says ouch in black, if you see it. Yeah, and when I release, touch me. So those are the new events you have to use now instead of on mouse down. Don't ask me why, but it's like that. So there is also something really, really interesting. If you build a mobile website optimized for mobile, is to use this event orientation change. It's actually going to fire, for example, when your device moves 90 degrees. So it's going to detect if it's portrait or landscape mode, for example. So you know, that's really, really nice if you actually want to display items differently, whereas your phone is in landscape or portrait mode. You know, you probably want to change the size of button or the layout or anything like this. So there's a really easy to use JavaScript event, orientation change. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write landscape when the phone is in landscape mode and portrait when it's in portrait mode in this div. So really easy. I'm going to do 2 demos at once. I'm actually also going to use those new CSS Media Queries. So you can also use those CSS Media Queries to actually apply different CSS, whereas your phone is in portrait or landscape mode. So for example here, it's really not that useful, but the background color is going to be transparent when my phone is like this, and red when my phone is like this. So we're just going to try this. So barcode scanner, really convenient. Up, oops. All right, so here it says, I'm going to move it, portrait, and if I move it like this, it's going to detect the on-change event here. So landscape, and it's red, so I don't know if you can see landscape due to the contrast. I promise you there's written landscape on my phone. You'll have to trust me on this. So that's really nice, right? You probably want your users want to display a optimized version of your website. You know, for users who are holding their phone mostly in portrait, for example. So that's really easy to use actually. And there's also device orientation. So what I mean by device orientation now is actually accessing the values of the angle of the orientation of your device. So you've seen the presentation made by Sebastian, right? It's really cool. He moves his laptop, and there's this Chrome logo who moves, right? Because we have an accelerometer in the MacBook Pro. There's also accelerometers in iPhones and Androids. So unfortunately, I'm gonna do the same quick demo. Oh, it was right here. You know, that's the demo you've all seen from Sebastian. Unfortunately, this is not yet available on Android, but it is on iPhone. So, well, now you know. So, iPhone 4.2 supports these events. I hope we're going to support it really soon because that looks bad. Yeah, I know. So, but you know, it's supported on Chrome. Woohoo! So if you have a MacBook Pro and you want to move it around, here I'm just displaying the values so you can see the angle changing. So it gives you values like that. The first is null. The first value is actually the compass value. So it's actually this orientation. So there's no compass on the MacBook Pro. That's why you're getting null. But you know, if you try with an iPhone 4 right now, you're going to have a value because there's a nice compass in it. All right, now the shame is over. We can move on. Next, now we're going to actually do some Android development together. So who already has done Android dev? Okay, so good, because it's not super advanced. It's going to be, well, you're going to see. I keep the surprise. So want to develop an Android native app? Good choice. So I'm repeating myself maybe, but you know, all the cool stuff that are, you know, on native apps is, you know, all these things. I've made the list before. You've all seen the speech-to-text demo. It's pretty cool. You can use SMS processing. You can use sensors. As I said, there's a light detector, proximity detector, accelerometer, compass. The new Nexus S has NFC. There's some phones who have a thermometer. You know, you can detect the temperature, geolocation, as I said, etc. Opengl, which is really cool. I'm going to show you a quick demo. I know nothing about Opengl, right? But because it looks super good, I'm going to show you on my phone what some people can do with Opengl. So actually, I think most of the Android device have a chip with 3D acceleration enabled, so it supports Opengl. I'm going to show you what can be done. I can't show you any code. I'm really bad at Opengl. Up. So For example, that's a presentation. I mean, that's a demo given by Qualcomm, the manufacturer of this chip. So you can see it's 3D. For example, I can stop the animation at any moment and turn around this cool tank. So, and keep playing. Actually, how do I keep playing? Up. Oh, I stopped it now, too late. So what's really cool in this demo, you know, you have a tank, it goes around. Yeah, here it keeps going. There's a robot that arrives, explosion, blah, blah, blah. It's really cool. So I don't think we have games like that. So that's all 3D, right? So guys, if you know OpenGL, please like develop cool games like that in 3D. Ah, another question. I have time to take a question, right? Sorry? You can tell me? Okay. I can talk to you afterwards, all right? Sorry, we don't have much time for the rest of the presentation. Can you give a mug to this person, please? He's gonna teach me OpenGL, so you know that's at least worth a mug. You've also all seen this speech-to-text demo, right? So what's very interesting with this is, so you all seen this cool, you know, this cool demo where they speak to each other. It translate translate that to text, then translate it to another language, blah blah blah. So what's interesting is you can use that within your own apps. You can actually, it's actually like that. Any apps can actually use features of any other apps that if the developer chose to, you know, open this. So for example, I'm just going to show you my crappy. So I've built a really crappy app. You're going to see. So this is really ugly, right? So I made this. That's not like a cool, fancy Google app, right? So just to show you that anybody using building, you know, your app, you can use this. Up. Welcome to Jordan. See if you've all seen the demo, but just to make a point, you can actually use that in your own apps. When we get stop downloading movies. Welcome to Jordan, it worked. So anybody can use this in your app. That's really easy. Actually, I'm not going to have time to go over this code because I want to show you something else. But if you get my slides, the next 3 slides are just show you how to use this intent. And it's the same way you use intents to actually call any other applications. So you go over these 3 slides, and you can try them in your own app with a button. And you're going to use this voice recognition thingy, which is pretty cool. So now, well, the basic idea here is you have to use your imagination when you're developing Android. There's all these new sensors, like a bunch of new stuff, right? Light sensor, you know, accelerometer, 3D, right? So use your imagination to build cool apps. So for example, the idea I had just before coming here was to build a virtual rooster. So you all know what a rooster is, right? This. So it's really annoying. On the morning, it starts singing, you know, when the sun comes up. So you could actually build one yourself. Using the light sensor, you could detect when the sun comes up, right, if you leave your phone outside, and it could start singing for you, you know, the rooster sound. I'm not saying it's super useful, right, but, you know, it's pretty cool. And can I have a volunteer? Just one volunteer to come on stage? No, you, no, who? Okay, you. Did you get a mug? Okay, I didn't see you, behind you. Because you're going to get a mug afterwards. Do you have a phone, by the way? Okay, can you hold it like this? And come toward me. So just to explain to you, I don't know if you've seen this app, Fistbump, but it's been developed already. So what these guys are doing, they're using the phone. So if 2 persons are holding 2 Android phones or an Android and an iPhone, they could do a fist bump. You all know what a fist bump is? Yeah, that's a fist bump, man. So, so we've just did a fist bump. And what those 2 phones could do if they had the same app installed, sorry, they could actually exchange our business card just by doing a fist bump. Let's do it again. Boom, and you get my business card. Why? It's magic. No, it's it's not magic. So first I thought it was magic. Then I was like, wait a minute. So what these guys are doing, they're using the accelerometer to detect a fist bump pattern, right? So by doing this, boom, you could detect the phone is doing cha, right? And that's a fist bump. Oh, those guys are doing a fist bump. I launched my app. And by using geolocation, like the GPS device, and by, checking the time, they could send that information to a same central server. And they're going to be like, oh, those guys are doing a fist bump at the same time, at the same place. So they're probably doing a fist bump together, right? And so they send back the business card of each other. So right now, I think it works with data. You could build this app for Africa, sending SMS to a server, and which send an SMS back, and boom, you get my business card. Thank you. You get a mug, by the way. Yes? 1 minute? Oh, no, that's not enough. 2 minutes? 3? OK. OK, 3 minutes. So in 3 minutes, we're actually going to build the virtual rooster with you. So it's going to be pretty tough, but we're going to do it. So I'm going to show you how to use Eclipse with the Android Sdk. So there is this Eclipse plugin you can install. So you have to download Eclipse, right? You have to download the Android Eclipse plugin. You have to download the Android Sdk, right? Then what you can do once you have all that set up. Sorry, I don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to show you more, but the boss is coming to kick me out. So, what? And yeah, and I can. So I'll go really quickly with this, and yeah, you can. So I'm actually doing the next presentation, right? And after this presentation, I'm filling up for Google Apps APIs. You've all learned that the speaker couldn't get in this country, visa problems. So I'm filling it for him, and then I'll be available at the demo pods for everybody to show you how to do this. OK. Yes. We don't have enough time. Sorry. So you come see me at the demo pods after the Google Apps talk, and I'll show you, how to start a project, explain to you a whole bunch of stuff. So what I wanted to show you is a virtual rooster. What the virtual rooster does, it's very simple. Oh, no. So if we were in the dark, up, right? So here, I put my finger on the light detector. So the phone is in the dark, and it detects 225 lumens of luminosity. And when the sun comes up, OK, I remove my finger. Oop, the rooster starts singing. And but here I'm just showing a picture because it's easier. So you guys come see me after the 2 presentations, and I'm going to show you how to build this really quickly. The code is also in my slides. I was just actually going to copy paste it here, 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 here. You can come see me, and I'll show you. So thank you. That's all for this talk. Oh. It's almost working. And that's my Twitter account. I'm going to, tweet the link to my slides, etc. And, don't hesitate to add me. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.